Hey, hello everyone. Sean Symons here, PPG Grandpa. We got our co-host, Kevin Can Fly. And because I got some really bad internet over here, Kevin, can you introduce everybody that's on the channel right now?
Yeah, so today we have Brian Waller. He was presented last week on the PPG Adventure show. They spotlighted his video, and we were fortunate enough to get him on today to be able to discuss that video and the incident that he had and try to share whatever we learned from it. We also have Linda, Mama Linda, the happiest cheerleader of PPG we could ever have, and Sean Symons. So today we're going to talk with Brian about his incident and see what we can learn from it and go from there. So today we're just going to discuss that, Brian. Like I was saying, if you could walk us through that day, the flight, what you were feeling, so forth, and what we can go from that.
Yeah, so, you know, it was just a nice afternoon. Want to go up for a sunset flight. It was a good day, June 18th, and I believe it was a Thursday, yep. So decided to go flying, and I have a spot that I like to go to low level that's close to my house. Big open fields with no power lines, a county road with no power lines on it. Got down there, had a good time. You saw that was the first half of the video, basically. Just playing around, doing a little leveling. I'm still new, so I'm kind of practicing mixing my turns with the throttle and maintaining kind of a constant altitude above ground. So I'm definitely still in the learning process, but every time I fly, I feel like I get a little bit, I progress just a little bit. I try to do something a little bit more, and I'm, you know, lack of other words, I'm constantly pushing myself to become a better pilot.
Absolutely.
So I was having a good time. I felt totally comfortable in my motor. The weather was calm. There was, I think the forecast was something like 3 gusting 10. And there was really, it was late in the afternoon. I'd already been flying 30 minutes when this happened. So there was really no wind or gust that I know of that had an impact on this accident. I can't blame it on weather for sure. So I cross over to some other fields that I have low leveled over a few times, and, you know, they're hay fields. Just having a good time, trying to actually working on a new route that I fly low level all the time was my goal. So I decided I'm going to fly low beside these bales of hay. And if you notice in the video, at first I'm headed in the southern direction, and I come pretty close to a bale of hay. You can actually see the video that my body twerks just a little bit where I move away from it. So I got kind of close to the first one, probably a little closer than what I wanted. And I flew over a different field.
From an outside perspective, when you went over the first hay bale, it did look like, from my vantage point, like you did touch the first one. It kind of like you mentioned with your body, it did look like you made contact with that. So
yeah,
you just
I barely did on the top of the bale of hay with my foot. I barely made contact. All right, so that did, you know, I was already cutting it close at that point, and I was having a good time. I didn't think I had anything to be worried about. So I fly down the field, I U-turn in front of the neighbor, the guy that comes out and helps me. You know, even though he's an Alabama fan, I'm an Auburn fan, he came to my rescue, you know, for any of y'all that know about SEC football. But anyway, he saw the whole thing, and he turned around, he came out there and helped me. But I was waving at him, and I turn around, I'm heading back towards the same bales of hay, covering basically the same area. Not exactly the same flight path, so I wasn't flying through my own wake. I was, you know, probably 50 yards over. So I look ahead, and I'm flying low, and I see these 2 bales of hay dead ahead, and I say, I think I'm going to split that gap. And so that's what I do. I fly straight for it, and from the video, looking back at it, it looks like I was spot on until the end. As far as splitting them, a lot of things shouldn't happen. Those bales of hay were too close for my expert level, for my knowledge level, experience level. I shouldn't have been there in the first place. I know that, but long story short is when I got closer to the bales of hay, and it all happened so quickly, but I felt like I was a little too far to the left at the last minute. So my instinct was to pull right brake. And I believe that put me going the wrong way, closer into the bale of hay. And once I realized that, you know, I'm barely going to hit this thing, my instinct, unfortunately, was to use my left foot to kind of just lightly push off of the bale of hay. You know, if I'm flying at about 20, 21 miles an hour on a Mojo Large, you know, it's not like you're really hauling butt. But anyway, so I thought I was going to be able to push off of it. I did not really feel like a real extreme impact other than it shook me a little bit. But instantly I looked down before I kind of did a butt slide to a landing. I looked down and I saw my foot hanging sideways, and instantly I knew, oh man, I screwed up. Got messed up. You know, the thinking process is basically I just kind of just fell to my butt. I lost a lot of my momentum when my leg hit, I think, and I kind of fell to my butt and slid just a short distance, and I didn't get my engine killed until after that happened. Luckily, my wing was still above me. There was no damage to the risers or anything, but the left side of the cage of the paramotor also hit the bale of hay, just enough to deflect the titanium frame back into the propellers. So I did break both propellers, about 3 inches off one and 2 inches off the other. That was the only damage to the paramotor other than about a foot diameter hole in the netting, which I got to stitch up. But it all happened pretty quickly, and you know, as soon as I got on the ground, like, man,
holy crap, Shane, are you drag racing? Good call.
Yeah, sorry.
What's up, JP?
What's up? Go ahead and talk.
So, so for everyone that's not able to see or hasn't seen the video, the bales of hay that Brian's talking about are the rolled up style bales of hay, the round ones that stand
about 500.
They're about 6 or 8 feet tall, and they weigh nearly 1,000 pounds. So to a human being, they're an immovable object.
They're about 500 pounds. I know. Let's just say I know. I have family that push those around all day long. But yeah, they're nothing you want to kick while flying. Trust me. Well, trust Brian.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
So did you get caught up in it? Did your foot penetrate the bale? Was there netting that grabbed a hold of your boot? That was another thing that nobody could really get a takeaway from the video. Did it bite you, or did you just have an incident?
I think it was just the impact. I did have boots on that the top 2 laces parts are loops. So there was the thought that maybe the loop got stuck on the bale hay, the wire that wraps it up. I don't think so. There's no sign of damage like that to my boot. But we did not investigate the bale of hay. By the time I went back to that field, those bales were gone. So
sure.
we went back and looked for the tips of my prop, but we couldn't find them. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I didn't move that bale of hay, and as far as I know, I didn't get one of those hooks on my boots hooked on something. But it's possible, you know. I can't really say definitively one way or another. But, you know, they told us in training not to wear those kind of boots, and you know, I've always worn boots like that, and you know, knock on wood, I've never got a riser stuck in them while walking around my wing. But you know, anyway, I guess you probably shouldn't wear those flying, but you should basically try to avoid bales of hay.
I can tell you from personal experience, because of a stalled wing in a tree landing, that they're not the particular pair of footwear that are great for flying.
Yeah.
I wound up having that happen to me on a coastal cliff launch, and the only out that I had at that point was to do full stall and then have a tree landing. Otherwise, I was going to be flying a cliff with my foot stuck above my head in the lines.
Oh,
hey, are we live right now? What's going on?
We're recording the show live, and then it'll be rebroadcasted on YouTube. Sean's going camping, so the show is going to be recorded and then rebroadcasted.
Gotcha.
So you can say things that we can edit out.
Oh,
like all of Shane's noise for drag racing he's doing, or his wife's doing, whatever it is.
It was a sorry Dodge Cummins next to me trying to mess with a Hyundai Santa Fe, and they got smoked. I don't know what happened.
Does that thing got a Hemi?
Yeah.
So if we were to go back to the hay bales, as you're approaching them and you've got your hands up and you're flying to the gap, if you could rewind the clock and do that again, what would you do different?
I would definitely pull both brakes a lot more to flare above the bale. Because I think with the Mojo large as the A-rated wing, it's a pretty slow, non-responsive wing. It's not, it's not an advanced wing. I think that might have been my only out. Also, if I would have just curled in my legs and let the frame of the motor hit the bale or glance off, I would have walked away with equipment damage. You know, more than likely, I can't say anything for certain if it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, a couple things, right off the bat, I could have done better was not put myself in that position and not been that low over the bales of hay. Maybe made some practice runs 10 feet above the bales of hay, or just not been in that situation in the first place. But that's
it's easy to say that now. It's easy to say, man, you shouldn't do that. But every one of us freaking does that. Like, if you haven't played,
low, man. I mean, it's just fun down low.
If you haven't done a hay bale slalom, you're, I know you're going to. Like, they beg to be slalomed. I've never kicked one, but
it seemed like a safe thing to do, and I see lots of people do it, but they have more experience, more advanced equipment. To make those kind of, their instinctive reactions are probably a lot better than mine too. Sticking my foot out to deflect off that bale of hay was a bad move, man. I've busted my butt on a one wheel a few times of mountain bikes, and my habit seems to be to sacrifice a limb for the rest of my body. Put an arm out there or something. And it costs me sometimes.
Would you say in that I would be correct in interpreting it as a accident of intermediate-itis?
Intermediate-itis, okay.
So the definition of the phrase is when you're at an intermediate stage where you've surpassed the beginner, but haven't quite hit the level of what would be called advanced. And so you kind of cognitively play in the advanced pool mentally while your physical skills haven't quite achieved that advanced level. And that slight gap in between is what causes a malfunction or an accident. Absolutely.
I didn't know what the meaning of the word was, but I would definitely fall into that category. I don't
because it's a dangerous, as an instructor, it's a dangerous position that students get into when they hit that 50 to 100 hour mark, where they've surpassed the beginner stage. I can launch, I can land, I can fly, I can do the basic maneuvers of paramotoring without fear or without worry. But when we start going into foot drags or swoop landings or hopping over power lines or tree lines, and you misjudge your climb rate or misjudge your turn rate or misjudge your sink rate, is when you have that caged butt landing or that accidental tree landing or that really crappy call to the FAA that you took out the power lines in the county road. And that's one of those, we see it within the sport, and it's really hard to self-regulate. I know that I've been guilty of it several times. And the one thing that brought me back to home was having an engine out. So being out flying low over fields that aren't really a good landing option. Mm-hmm. And then the one day that you put yourself in a good position, but then the engine dies, and then you have to have a forced engine out landing, it reassures to you that not every flight is that glorious good day, and that at any point, what you're relying on for flight is not necessarily reliable.
Yeah.
And we, it's one of those, we always believe when we're flying low over a field or when we're crossing over a river or maybe a pond or a lake, that's not ever going to be the time that my motor will give up. It's been running great for 60 hours. Why would it happen to me today? And that's when you foul a plug or crack an exhaust or something to that effect. And we've all kind of been there to some degree. And it's that humbling experience that brings us back to that. I'm still a beginner. You're like, I'll accept the fact that I'm still learning lots of things today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, very fair assessment of me. You know, I had, you know, I don't know much about your training school out there. I know, I don't know much about any other training school other than Aviator.
Sure.
That's where I went to school at, down in Florida, and I can't speak highly enough about the guys personally and the training. So I felt like I was putting myself in, you know, the best training I could get, you know, for Southeastern United States anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
Eric is going to be so disappointed, man.
Yeah, he's already reached out to me.
I'm just teasing.
They wanted to, he's a good guy, but you know,
Yeah.
I felt like I was putting myself in a really good position to become a good pilot. I was trying to really play it safe, though. You know, I was on the fence about going between the Ozone Mojo, and the Spider 3 at training for my initial purchase. I decided, you know, I'm gonna buy a Mojo, the safest wing, the A-rated wing, and just fly it for a year, and we'll go from there. I was feeling really good with the Mojo, and I was actually already looking into buying my Spider 3, thinking, okay, it's time for my next wing. So at this point, I'm going to have to step back and fly my Mojo a little bit more. I still have a lot of learning that I can do on a Mojo before I move to, you know, a Spider 3 where, you know, I got 14 inches of trim and, you know, a real reef 2D
Roasted.
So the thing that I can tell you, because I train my students with a Spider, is the only real advantage you get with the Spider over the Mojo is a little bit more wind speed. So if you're flying in a place, and this is one of those dependent upon your environment, and it depends for some people on what conditions they're willing to go fly in. But if you're a coastal flyer, or if you have a place that has generative valley winds, then a Spider is going to give you that little bit faster trim speed that will allow you to benefit in that little bit higher wind.
Right.
That's the only real given benefit to going from a Mojo to a Spider is just that little bit of speed. The Spider is a B-rated wing, and it will still sort itself out in any and all collapses with very little or no pilot input. The only thing that a Spider is reluctant for is stalls. A Spider is not a wing that you want to do any stalls on. But as a person of, you know, color, I like to call it, who goes up and finds the nasty stuff to play in, I don't go stall the wing. It's not something I purposefully do, so it's not necessarily a concern, because it's not something that I encourage or expect someone else to do. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
if you want to, you know, if you've got 50 hours, 40 or 50 hours, if you've been flying since November, going to a Spider wouldn't be anything that would be surprising to you. It would be very comfortable, especially in a moderate size. If you were flying a 24 to 26, it would just be a nice, fun wing. The brake pressure isn't anything scary or going to be dangerous. And then it gives you the ability, if you want, to bring 2D steering in when you're ready to try that. So it's a good growth wing. I like it. Like I said, the only thing I hold against the Mojo is it's slow. And where I live and where we fly and train, we have valley winds. And so if you get up to 1,200 feet, you could be flying in 12 or 15 knot winds, which will basically park a Mojo. But a Spider, you can let the trims out and you can cruise at 30 knots. And so you still have plenty of headway.
Yeah.
That's the one nice benefit.
And that was one of the reasons I was on the fence about whether or not to get a Spider or the Mojo. But so long story short is, it sounds like if I'd have been on a Spider, it wouldn't have gave me any more performance in that situation that would have saved my butt.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah. Now, tell me this, you know, it's my understanding, you know, going through training that, you know, our body and motor is a pendulum swinging underneath the wing when you make, you know, when you hit a brake, left brake or right brake, deflect the trailing edge. If you're flying a straight line, level, and there's no wind, and you pull your right brake, which way does your body swing initially?
Well, that depends on whether you're using weight shift or not. So that's the key element to the question of control. So when, like, I'm sure you heard it 1,000 times when you trained at Aviator, look, lean, pull.
Yeah.
Right? Look, lean, pull.
I was not weight shifting at the time.
Right. And so
that wasn't actually turning.
That's the key element that I would point out in saying, when you want your body to go right or you want your body to go left, you have to implement a lot of weight shift to get the generation, because you're articulating. See, what a lot of people don't understand is the wing with weight shift articulates, right? You're able to lower one riser and raise one riser. With a harness or a setup that's like a flat top, for instance, with fixed bars, you're not able to articulate the wing. You can move your body and load one carabiner or load the other, but you can't actually change the profile of the wing. So when we talk about look, lean, turn, the articulation of the wing is what's going to give you your roll rate versus your yaw rate. So by weight shifting and pulling brake, you would have initiated roll and yaw together, turning you away from the hay bale. By using brake only, you swing the wing to one side, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your body moved position. What you did was this: you just leaned on an axis. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, you know, as I was pulling that right brake, I guess in the video you can tell that I don't know if I'm kind of crinching up at this point, but my left hand does come down a little bit too. So at the point right before I hit the bale of hay, you know, you could tell I'm pulling both brakes a little bit. But my gut instinct at the last second was to pull that right brake to try to move right and go around that bale. And I think they had an opposite effect. But from what you're saying is it might not have had much effect at all, because I did not have the time to say, okay, look, lean, and then pull the brake. I was coming in, and I gave a little pull on the right brake, and next thing I know, I was in a bale of hay.
So the instruction that I give most people in that scenario is power is always your friend. So if you're coming at an object and it feels uncomfortable, power is your friend. You just go to a climb, because your safe space is in the air. It's really hard to hit things in the open air. And like you said, it's one of those, you climb over it. I was headed for the gap, but it didn't feel good. So I climbed over the gap, and I'll go 180 degrees and come at it another way, or another pass, or another try. You know, that's that. I like to tell people that's that danger commitment. You know, when you commit, that honest to God 100% commitment to flying through a gap, you know, it's you kind of accept the risk of what you're doing, and the outcome hopefully is good, and 90% of the time it is, but it's that slim 10% of the time that you hope it's just like an awkward landing or a butt landing or something, but you don't anticipate having your foot taken off. You know what I mean? Like that's an unusual circumstance.
It's a series of unfortunate events for sure. I mean, you know, I would go back and do a lot of things differently if I could. You know, I would fly over the bales of hay 10 feet higher, you know, just look down at them in video or whatever. But, you know, never that day. Even when I saw that black cat, I failed my first launch because it was just hot, and, you know, it wasn't very humid. It wasn't too bad humid, but anyway, there was zero wind, and, you know, with a mojo, I ran hard, and it wasn't quite enough. You know, I've seen pros fail launches, no big deal. So I put my big boy pants on, and I spread my wings back out, and, you know, I get it back up, and then here comes a black cat crossing the runway. I was like, no big deal, man. I'm flying today. But, you know, if I saw a black cat cross the path, I wouldn't care. I'd still fly. I don't care about that. But it was just kind of funny to see. But I would have definitely kept more altitude over the bales of hay, just knowing that if you have a motor out or one just slight mistake, it cost you. I think that if I would have pulled both brakes pretty hard, about halfway down, I would have flared enough that without giving it much more power, of course power would have helped too, that I might have flared just enough to drop over that bale of hay, but I might have come down on the ground after that. I think that if I would have just tucked my legs in, once I knew there was going to be an impact, I could have Also saved my leg from being broken and just been a bruised ego and damaged equipment.
So now my next question is, how long did you have to be in that field before you got some help? Because it looked like initially that your farmer friend was able to get there fairly quick. You got to your phone, you called 911, and then had emergency come to you for the rescue. Is that right?
That's correct. I was in the field for a total of, I've got it on video, I can get the exact amount, but it's somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. I was sitting there in the field. So the ambulance had to come from the hospital, which was about 10 miles away. And so they came, picked me up, back. I probably had a dozen deputy sheriffs out there. And of course, one ambulance pulled up. But I was probably in the field about 15 minutes. I cut a lot of it out, obviously. It's just me just laying there in the field. But I had plenty of help. Bring me water. Luckily, I always fly with my phone, and I know how to operate the GPS on it. Sometimes I fly with a Spot, which is a personal GPS locator. I didn't have it with me that day. Luckily, I knew exactly where I was at. I was within a couple miles of my house, an area I always fly. So I was easily able to give directions to 911. But I was prepared to pull out the GPS on my phone and give them that information. And I also had my dad on the two-way radio. So I had plenty of ways to get help.
Do we want to show the clip, or is that going to be done later?
If you can screen share it, JP, go ahead.
Sure.
I think Shane needs to enable screen sharing.
Me? I don't have the screen sharing on. Oh, share content. Hold on.
You're the host.
Oh, hold on. I'm the host.
You're the host.
Oh, you guys messed up. How do you do screen sharing? I don't even know how to do that.
I can read.
Hold on. Hold on.
I totally get it.
How long you been on Zoom, Shane?
Not long. Hold on. How do you turn the screen share off? Or on?
It is a setting in.
I'm in the.
I think in the video settings.
It is. It's confusing. I get it, Shane. I get it. That's why I'm always messing with these guys. Just send me the link. Just send me the link. That's all.
It is set.
Have Linda walk you through it. She knows how to do it.
Did it. Good. Try it.
You'll be lost forever.
Hey, there we go.
So I didn't realize y'all did a review last week of the video, huh?
Yeah.
Well, no. Let's make corrections on that. Someone else on another channel made a review of that, which I would not, under no circumstances, have reacted to any of that review the way that it was reacted to. Is that fair enough to say?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second. Nick didn't.
Oh my God, there's so many dogs in here. We should get more dogs, guys.
Well, I knew a lot of people would say, "Oh, look at this idiot, what he did." But I made a mistake. I'm dealing with the consequences of it, and I've definitely learned from it.
I can tell you personally, I'm thankful as a new pilot. I'm 53 hours since November. A new pilot. I am greatly appreciative to you showing your video. It teaches not only myself but many others.
So there's the black cat.
Yeah.
It teaches us all to make corrections and to not get too comfortable in flying. And I've been there. I've done this already. I've smacked a tree at the top of the tree thinking I could fly over it with enough throttle.
Right.
I mean, I didn't get caught up in it, but I did hit the top of the tree and spank myself. But lesson learned. And this is just another video, another tool that we can all learn from.
Right. Yeah,
It's like a clean launch.
My goal, man. I was hoping other people to learn from it, and it was it was an interesting moment in my life, and I captured it on video, and so I put it on YouTube. It just made sense.
There you go.
So this is a county road that I'm flying over that has no power lines down it. So
Perfectly legal. Perfectly legal. It's perfectly legal.
Yeah. Well, we call it our asphalt runway, but I've never landed on it. Yeah, one of the first things I did was I knew Tucker reviews these videos, so I think he was the first one to see this video before it was posted. But
how? What do you mean the first one?
Can you pick this up real quick? I just made a mess.
What do you mean he was the first one to see it?
Oh, when I first posted it, it was private. And a couple of people review it for me.
Oh, okay. You know how he does those crash reviews?
Right. Yeah.
Is he gonna do that with that probably?
He hasn't mentioned anything about it, but you know, I'm guessing that he'll probably consider it. He's seen it, so he knows about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'd never like to be on Tucker's videos for my mistakes. I mean,
man, your trailer video is close.
All right, so now coming up on this first bale of hay right here, I was trying
Here's the field. Okay.
Yeah.
Walk us through it.
So I'm headed in a southern direction right now. Southeast, I guess. But anyway, coming up on the first bales of hay, and I see it, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to fly around this. And I try to fly right over the top edge of it, and I basically did just what I wanted to, just barely touch the top of it with my foot. Right there, you see it shake just a little bit because I barely made contact.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now get out.
I go down here. Straight ahead is the house for the guy that came to my assistance. He's out in the yard waving at me. You can't really see it in the video. I do a little turn there and kick my legs for him. And at this point, I'm turning. I'm trying to keep it conscious of my throttle and maintain a constant altitude this whole time. That was my goal during that turn. I think I did pretty good. Practicing turning sharper. Right now, I'm looking ahead. I see two bales of hay. Like, all right, I'm going to split these guys. And pull a little right there. Like, go too much, and then boom. I was just, man, if I would have just gave it a little gas or pulled both brakes and flared above it, done a lot of things differently, it could have been different. But this is what happened. You see at the last minute, my left arm kind of pushes out like Superman. Like I'm not sure what I'm trying to do there. I had a problem with my arms doing that during training initially. I didn't have my hands like pistons. I did Superman, but I've never really done that on landings or anything. Basically just came to a skid on my butt here. The neighbor comes over pretty quick in his little UTV and helps me get the motor off my back. I'm basically working on getting myself out of the harness. Laying there, it's kind of hard to get out of my leg straps and stuff. And he helps pull the motor. I reach in and grab my phone here at this point. And the prop is broken. There's a little bitty hole in the net, but other than that, the motor's fine.
Oh, God.
So you say in the video that you don't really have feeling, that it didn't hurt. How long did it take before it all started to come to you?
Yeah, so some of the later video that I didn't put in, it shows me basically laying there with my head down, kind of like, this is starting to suck a little bit, But to answer your question, is my estimate is it was at least 10 minutes before I really started to feel any pain, and I couldn't believe it. I knew
that's a thing. It's like shock.
Well, I shattered my left femur, so I sat up to see my left foot sitting on my right heel. So I kind of understand the feeling of I feel it, but I don't feel it.
Yeah. So that I knew I was in shock. I knew what shock was. I knew I should be in shock. I even say it in the video to the 911 lady. But I think I handled it pretty good. Initially, the video, it shows my foot sideways right after impact, and then as I'm landing, the foot is completely sideways. I guess I kind of just straightened myself out a little bit as I sit up there, and it doesn't look as bad here. But on the left side of the leg there behind the boot, what you can't see is there's starting to bleed a little bit because the fibula stuck out of the skin.
Oh, the compound fracture.
Oh,
Yeah.
the compound.
So, I mean, I've got pictures that, well, a couple of the pictures made it at the end of this video of me sitting in the hotel, the emergency room with the foot sideways, and you can see the tibia kind of sticking, poking, and trying to poke out.
I like how you started that sentence by saying at the hotel. Take a quick vacation to the Holiday Inn.
We're gonna try this first. We can make this work. Hold on.
So it was kind of funny because the lady didn't realize I was flying a paramotor. I kept saying I was in a hayfield and I crashed my paramotor. I think I threw her off when I said hayfield. She thought I was on a lawnmower at that point, but
several times she mentioned lawnmower, and you're like, no, a paramotor.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of paramotor crashes around here, hopefully anywhere. So it was pretty unusual. So this is my dad walking up in the back of the video now. He had just gotten over there, and then my mom. I only put this in there, the audio was out, but my mom walks up, puts her hand down on my arm, lets me know she was there. That's her there. So anyway, they were there in the field with me, looking at my foot turn sideways, and this is a voluntary fire department guy from a local Lovetown fire department helping me out. They all did a great job. And they got to me quick.
So this volunteer fireman here, he didn't laugh at you, did he?
No.
Yeah, that would be rude. Okay.
They're all pretty interested in it, man. They all thought the paramotor was pretty cool. Oh man, you fly one of those? I saw you the other day. Yeah, that was me.
Yep.
I have people stopping on the side of the road all the time, watching me land and launch, and I'm sure all of you are used to that, So it's really fun to fly. I love them. I can't wait to get back up in it. I just got to wait on my body to heal. I got my new cast today. It's blue.
How long did they say you're going to be out without putting weight on that?
So it's 6 weeks total for cast time. The first 3 weeks I've already passed with just a splint on. And then so I've got three weeks from today I get this cast cut off. They do an x-ray, and then they go in and remove the long screw for surgery that's holding the joint together.
Right.
And I think shortly after that, I'm going to start being able to load bear. But I won't really know until they do the surgery, remove the screws, and go in there and get a good look at it. So I'm hoping in a month and a half I could be putting some weight on it. Because in 3 weeks when they cut the cast off, I'm under impression I'm going to begin physical therapy at that point. Now, walking on it's another story.
I've been there. I've been there with that kind of injury. Yeah. Yeah.
Question.
You're going to need physical therapy when that cast comes off, because you're not going to be able to do anything with that leg for a little while.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a little while, but, I'm a trooper. I'm going to push myself, and I'll be out of this pretty quickly, I think.
Yes, JP.
So, okay, thank you for calling on me. So, did you legit have to wear a face mask when you're in your own room by yourself at the hospital?
Yeah. So, it's all COVID related. My mom was able to come into the emergency room. That's a brutal picture. Ooh.
Yeah.
That was bad too. So my mom was able to come in an emergency room kind of deal that she could come in, but once she left, she couldn't come back. So I was only in the emergency room for a few hours before, they put me to sleep right there in the emergency room. And then that picture shows after they reset my foot. And so basically she was not allowed in my room at all. Once I got my own private room, no visitors allowed whatsoever. If I would have been a minor, I think I would have been allowed one. But
wow.
So I was basically, I was flying solo in a room all night, just the nurses take care of me. It's like these people that are dying from COVID, man. They're dying alone. Your family can't come in with them.
Yep.
Exactly.
Did they write on your chart that your foot suffered a severe case of COVID?
I know, huh?
Mm-hmm.
No, but they probably counted it if I would have died that way.
Yeah, right.
COVID.
Well, Brian, I'm glad you got at least a leg to stand on, brother.
Yeah, man, me too. And it's the left one, so I can still drive. I've already driven a vehicle a few times. Funny backstory, almost exactly 30 years ago, I broke my right leg. I was about 12 years old. Anybody want to guess how?
Jumping off the roof with a plastic bag.
Umbrella.
Close.
That was you, Kevin, right?
It's related to aviation.
I didn't know I did that.
I'm not talking about flying off a roof, but anyway. No,
when it didn't work jumping off the fence, I knew I just had to get higher up was the problem.
Yeah, so about 30 years ago, my dad first got into aviation down here. That's back when ultralights were big. And so he's been flying all my life. And so that's why we have a grass runway in the front yard. But he was still learning to be a pilot then. I went with a more experienced pilot. It was my second time up in a small airplane ever in my life. I was 12 years old. What was it? King Cobra. It's a cable suspension type of frame. It's really similar to a modern Quicksilver MX Sprint. So it's a fixed wing aircraft, open, cruises at about 35, 40 miles an hour. Long story short, we got 200 feet, the engine quit. He made, he nosed it down to the ground, maintained airspeed, made a last minute landing, flared it just right. But it was a tricycle gear plane, and the nose wheel, we hit a terrace, and the nose wheel collapsed, and it broke my right leg, fibula and tibula, crushed my growth plate. So 30 years ago, I broke my leg in an airplane crash. 30 years later, paramotor crash. So hopefully that's it.
It was the same leg?
No, it's a different leg. It was my right leg when I was a kid.
I was going to say, I wonder if it was weaker or something, if it was something like that.
With the surgery now, when they fix his ankle, they'll just even him up with a quick hip job.
Yeah. Now you won't be tilted to one side with one leg longer than the other.
Right.
Hey, man, you called it. That's been my problem the last 30 years. My right leg has been shorter than my left leg. I've walked funny the whole time.
Now you'll be balanced out. You'll be able to fly straight, and then you can split those hay bales next time.
I never could figure out why my wing always kites off to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just they make for good stories. I've been in the hospital for a snake bite. And in the end, this will just be another good story. I'll look back at it, and when I watch the video for 5 years from now and I hit that bale of hay, I'll still go, ooh. The first few times I thought about it, it was kind of unnerving to think about. But I've seen the video quite a few times now. It doesn't bother me. But,
so what was her name?
What was her name?
Yeah, the snake.
Copperhead. That was one of my call signs, was Copperhead. That's what a lot of people called me. But
so were you playing with it, or did it surprise you?
It was at one of my older houses near Auburn, Alabama, and I was just walking in my yard carrying a garbage can in front of me. It was dusk, and it was getting kind of hard to see. It was one of those, I was wearing sandals. It was just a series of unfortunate events came. I had a beagle that had 3 times in the past basically caught these snakes for me and zeroed out on them. And she had a special bark that she would do when there was a poisonous snake in the yard. I always knew, okay, there's a copperhead over there, I gotta go kill it. She was doing that bark, and it just happened so quick, and I didn't put it together, and I felt a little like a mosquito bite on my ankle, and somehow I instantly knew what it was. I jumped up and see a copperhead slithering away. Luckily, they do a warning strike where they just kind of bite you without injecting a lot of venom. The adults do, and he got me one fang as a warning strike, so I didn't have to have any anti-venom or anything. I just spent the night in the hospital and got a bunch of pain meds, so it wasn't really anything to it. Other than a good story. Yeah.
I got nailed in the left leg by a big old rattlesnake walking home from the bar when I lived in Texas.
Well, those things are toxic, man. That's another story.
Yeah, that was fun. That's one of those, like, between shattering my femur and getting bit by that rattlesnake, I can literally look back and say, Mom and Dad, you did fantastic with that insurance, buddy.
Yeah. And that's something else, man. I've been retired for over 3 years, and I don't have, I don't qualify, or I don't want Obamacare. And, I've been paying out the buttload for health insurance, like $660 a month for insurance just for me. And for a while, I'm thinking, do I really want to keep paying this? Well, when I broke my leg the other day, that's what it's for.
Paid for, all them payments paid for themselves.
Yeah,
yes, it did.
All right there. One bale of hay paid for it all, man.
No kidding.
So are you in a
what it is.
So you in a motorhome or a travel trailer?
It's a travel trailer, 22-foot Winnebago travel trailer.
All right.
And,
I know by the blinds behind you.
Yeah.
Those and the sconce above you there. That's the window treatment there. I know all about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the fancy digital background like y'all do. I'm working on my cell phone, so.
Oh no, so am I. You just go to the little bottom right where it says more, and then you can pick your virtual background.
I'm actually sitting in the clouds. I don't know what you're talking about.
Whatever.
Yeah, JP.
What is that?
JP's sitting in a place where he looks like he's been flying my paramotor.
Flying with his dog.
Linda looks like she's at a house, but
I am.
that's just
I love my house. Yeah.
Linda's avoiding the Arizona monsoons.
Oh, they're
Yes.
coming, dude. They're coming. I hate lightning.
Oh, why? That's
Thunder
my
doesn't
favorite.
bother me. The lightning sure the heck out.
Lightning and thunder is like having a free 4th of July. It's like Mother Nature bringing you a free one.
So Brian, when you looked down and seen your ankle not in the shape that it was supposed to be after you hit the bale, did you say, "Hey, this is not correct"?
I think,
How did I know that was coming?
Bad.
Oh,
I think the initial thought that went through my head was, oh shit, fucked up.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it happens that quick. You have time to think about it. It's like, oh man, I messed up bad there. And then I slid on the ground, and you know, it happens quickly. And you know, just thank goodness that the shock takes care of the pain for a while. And
Yes.
let me make good decisions to get help there. And you know, I mean, if this would have been 200 years ago, I don't know what you do with an injury like that. It's tough.
Drink a lot of whiskey and forbid the knife from hitting you.
Yeah, exactly, man.
a lot
'Cause,
of Reagan. Yeah.
It would have been pretty cool if you had a paramotor 200 years ago.
Ah,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
Look at that flying man.
I'm pretty sure Da Vinci drew one. I couldn't recall if it was a fact or not.
I wouldn't doubt it. Guy was ahead of his time. But nah, man, flying paramotors, all y'all can, you know, sympathize that it's just one of the coolest things that we're probably going to do in life. And,
So, have you been scared off? Or are you getting ready to sell your stuff, or what's the verdict?
Oh no, I'm still thinking about buying that Spider 3, man. What you talking about?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm scared to get back up there.
So does this
work.
work? Does this work for a mask when you go to the store and you need to get?
You know, I thought about doing that.
things?
I thought about doing that, dude.
Oh man.
This is actually like this for when I go free flying, because when you get up in the bright sunshine and the thermals and you're paragliding for 4 or 5 hours straight, that you don't really have time to put on sunscreen. So I cut it out so I can pull it over my entire face and get that SPF covering.
I hear you, man. I haven't worn something that looks.
Right now I got that ombre thing going on super hard because I've been training out in the sun the last few days.
I mean, I've been retired and up to the paramotor accident. Like literally the day I broke my leg, I just got done spending a month and a half building a greenhouse. And so I've been outside working in the sun every day. I mean, I still don't have a farmer's tan yet, but no, I had a pretty good tan. I'm going to lose it now, though. I can't sweat with a cast on, so.
Oh my God, you're gonna go crazy, dude. You're gonna go crazy.
It's only 3 more weeks. I'm halfway there with the cast.
That's
So
nice.
after 3 more weeks, I'll be able to, you know, take a normal bath or swim in the pool or get in a hot tub, do the things I like to do every day. But
yeah, well, at least you can drive.
oh yeah, I've got a little out shower here in my camper, so I've been able to stay clean. That's nice. But yeah, they definitely limit you, and you know. But I'm glad to say that, you know, the leg is really in such good shape right now. 2.5 weeks later, that just a second ago when I got up to turn the air conditioner off for background noise, I almost got up and put weight on my left leg without thinking about it, because it just doesn't bother me much. But so I'm gonna have to take it easy on it and just, you know, make myself lay in bed and watch Netflix and just keep it elevated for a few weeks. It's tough. I'm a very active person, and I'm trying to cut back on alcohol and everything else, because I think I've already put on like 10 pounds in 2.5 weeks laying around. It's terrible.
That's nothing.
You're gonna have to bring a whole new meaning to Netflix and chill.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I finished up 1 or 2 series already. So, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. You know, it cost me some money and it's going to cost me some downtime, but I have no reservations whatsoever about getting back up there. My only reservation is going to be putting too much weight on it too quickly and
Right.
extending the amount of time that it takes for me to heal. So, I mean, you know, but before the injury, I hiked every morning. I would walk 4 miles, 3 to 4 miles every morning. Sometimes 2 miles of that, I would have a 40-pound pack on my back. Because when I started training for my training at Aviator PPG, you know, I lost 50 pounds before that training. And I was running with a pack short distances on my back every day. And even after the training, I didn't give up on, after my training, paramotor training, I didn't give up on my physical training. I just kept doing it forever. I got into mountain biking, and that was just a blessing. It was a great way to exercise. It was low impact. So
There you go.
I'm looking forward to getting back out there and getting fit, you know. But
Yeah, that's
it's
what
just gonna
Tony
take some
Boyer
time.
does, is mountain biking. And he does the paragliding with Robert. So, yeah, that's how he keeps in shape.
Yep.
That mountain
Get
biking
outside,
is
stay busy.
nuts. So you could do that.
FYI, round is a shape.
Pear is the shape too.
Oh man.
That's what I always tell everybody. I'm getting in shape. Pear
Yeah.
is a shape.
Exactly.
I've been a fat boy most of my adult life. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And paramotoring was one of the things that really inspired me to finish getting into shape. And when I retired a little 3.5 years ago, that was my primary objective, was to quit smoking and to get into shape.
There you
And
go.
I gave up cigarettes like, I don't know, three years and 3 months ago. And I haven't had one since, and I lost 50 pounds. And, you know, I was just a success story down there. You know, I really wanted to be there. I wanted to fly. And now that I'm injured, you know, I still want to fly. But
I'm in the same boat. I stopped smoking 4 years ago, and it was the best thing I ever did.
good for you, buddy.
Stop smoking what?
Cigarettes.
Yeah, you stop smoking? What?
Hey, that depends on which state you live in.
Stop smoking?
Oh,
in
yeah.
Alabama.
I got to hit my mute on my phone real
Let
quick.
me rephrase. I stopped smoking things with negative effects 4 years ago.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, I'm like, heck, now that I'm retired, hey, sky's the limit, you know, Kev? There you go.
No,
I've done a lot of things in my life, but I can honestly tell you, I think the best high I've had was flying in a paramotor, man.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
no, it was funny. My wife and I were chatting the other day, and she says, you know, people are out trying all these different things, you know, dating other people and having wild relationships and things. She's like, you know, maybe it's something to consider. I said, people do heroin. Is that something to consider?
Oh, stop. Kevin, we got to mute that one out of there. You better edit that when you're editing. Edit.
You've never done
Some
heroin?
things are not worth considering is my point. Sometimes you just leave alone.
And she replied with, sometimes you just got to shoot in the dark.
I think she's trying to tell you something, buddy. I think she's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah, crazy.
No, paramotoring has definitely, it's something I've wanted to do for a better part of 20 years. And I finally financially was able to make it happen. And I haven't stopped. I mean, it's any chance it's flyable, I will bail on all my friends just to go take off to be all by myself, if you will. Sitting
Any
in my
chance you
chair.
can get to fly into a trailer, you take it.
Hell yeah.
Shane is so dedicated to flying that he even switched his phone service so he could do his live streams better.
I did. I went back to Verizon because Spectrum, Jesus, what a joke that is.
Cheese and crackers.
That's what I said, cheese and crackers. I mean, my Spectrum service would be like, I don't know, having I don't know. I might as well have like UFO service or something. It wasn't good.
There you go. It could be next.
What are you guys laughing about?
The home of the $7. The home of the $7 internet.
What? I'm sorry. This e-cig is a little rough on my throat. What do you say?
So Shane, how long have you been flying, Shane? I hear you talking about live streaming from the air.
Since November.
Okay.
I went to school at Four Winds.
He's a new.
Over in Avon Park.
Hi.
Hello.
Say hi.
What's up, sweetie?
That's JP.
Like,
Say hi, JP.
hi, JP.
Hey, sweetie, what's your name?
What's your name?
My name is Bellatrix.
Tell him in the camera. Tell him what your name is.
My name is Bellatrix. I love you.
Beatrix?
Bellatrix.
Bellatrix. Nice. Nice to meet you, Bellatrix.
That's a beautiful name. My name.
Is your name Bellatrix can fly?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. One of these days?
Flowing off like a donut. Wait, that's a little one.
She doesn't know the umbrella trick, does she?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Her older sister does. See, I've got two girls, right? And potentially, we're fingers crossed, we might have one more coming. But this one here, she's the disaster zone. She's the one that wants to climb to the top of the tree and then jump out of it. She's the one that climbs to the top of the cat scratch post and then does a backflip off of it. My little one, on the other hand, she's more timid and more afraid of doing things. So we've got both sides of the spectrum here. We've got wild as could be and then a little more reserved.
Well, congratulations, man. Fatherhood is something I have not achieved yet. So I'm hoping one day. I'm not too old.
I tried to avoid it like the plague, but it just kept following me.
It just kept coming around. Looks like twice.
It's funny when you get one of those women that no matter what state you run to, they just seem to find you and show back up. You can't get far. Yeah. I'm just teasing. I love my wife. All right, guys, go play. Go play. Okay. Take your ball, go play. Thank you.
So I noticed that some of you are on the Pacific Northwest, up around Oregon. One of you said you were in Ohio. So are you scattered all over the U.S. or what?
Yeah. So I'm in Portland. Sean's in Oklahoma, and then JP, you're in Ohio, right?
Ohio.
And then Shane, he's in Florida. He's a Florida man, so you'll see him live on the news before the end of the night.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm Arizona.
Oh yeah, we forgot about Miss Andersen.
Since we're doing a blooper reel, wait for it. Wait for it.
Yeah, this is my blooper reel right here.
Okay.
But please note, I didn't hit the camper. I simply noticed it was cold, and I wrapped my wing over one corner of it because I am caring and a thoughtful person.
Whoa!
Put in the first base.
Were you doing a downwind takeoff? Like, how did you run that far and not get off the ground?
Because in the video, you'll see there's a mound. I actually stepped on this mound, which threw me upwards, which puts your wing behind you, and then it surges forward.
Yeah, I got
and
you.
The time I corrected it, I looked up. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to make over the camper." So I just braked it and I killed the motor, put the brakes to my butt, and just slid. And you can see how far I am from the camper. The time I flew from here over to Avon Park, the rumor was that I slammed into the camper. I never even touched the camper with myself.
No, you went face first into that camper. You ended up inside the camper, from what I heard.
Negative. I actually made breakfast for them.
I would say that your wing slammed into the camper. The wing was attached to you, and bipartisan, you crashed into the camper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I almost died then. Jeez.
Almost died.
But anyways,
anyone you walk away from is a good one, man.
Yeah, I knew when I looked up, because I was looking at wingtip to wingtip. I got the wing under control. I looked up. I was like, there's no way. And I just killed it. It ain't worth it.
Did you think about
launch,
kiting
right?
like a couple degrees to your right and doing a crosswind takeoff?
Okay, so I've tried those. I did actually this past weekend. I flew from the beach, and I had that experience of crosswind, actually lifting my wing up, and it being literally a different direction. And then I actually tucked in behind a building and was able to take off, which would have, I guess, been crosswind. But yeah, when I set my wing up, it wasn't directed at that area. It was actually directed towards the airport or the runway, which would have been not towards the campers. And then as soon as I brought the wing up, it just turned and went right for the campers.
I'll be right back.
Somebody's feet are tired. Dogs are barking.
So is this a show that typically goes on every Monday, or is it kind of just random at this point?
Well, this is our very first show. We've tried some other show concept, and this is our first, I guess, real show. And it's starting out with Kevin can fly. Well, Sean, PPG Grandpa is the main guy.
Right.
Kevin can fly is our expert. I'm here for comedy because I just learned how to fly, so I don't really know nothing. JP is very knowledgeable and does have some really good input. And then we have hopefully more. Well, I take that back. Not hopefully, but we have hope to have more people like you that have experience in making mistakes. I don't know how to word that correctly.
No, don't worry, man. You got hurt feelings.
No, I'm not poking fun at you by no means. I totally respect that you posted this and hope the rest of us can learn from it. But
Brian is the content. I mean, let's be real.
Exactly. Tonight is based
the content,
on,
and Linda's the eye candy. So
exactly. She's a buckle bunny. She's a buckle bunny. She's been for.
Oh, stop with the buckle bunny.
You know, this is so. Here's what I expect. Here's what I expect. I expect within the next like 6 to 9 months, give or take, that Robert's going to get his tandem rating because the boys are going to want to go fly. So Robert will take.
They already have been flying.
Well, I get that, but I'm saying like Robert's going to take them tandem, and then you're going to come visit.
Yeah.
And then you're going to come visit, and then instead of going and taking the Jeep to Blossom and taking pretty pictures, you're going to go tandem with Robert up to the top of El Cap and take really pretty pictures. And you're going to post all of it on YouTube, and then you're going to have your own Linda Can Fly channel or something.
There you go.
And you'll be the camera person. You'll have Robert doing the flying, and you'll do the camera work. It'll be like a tag team deal.
But now Robert has to have a license to do tandem, right? Because he doesn't have a license for that yet. So somebody else should. Yeah.
But he could go to Tori and get tandem rated.
Really?
He's already got a P3, so he can go to Tori and get tandem rated. Just another course. He just has to go through the course and then get a tandem wing and a spreader bar.
Well, you have to go to like a class, right?
Yeah. You do a tandem. You do a tandem course, and then you get your T1, and then your T2 and T3. Your T1 is just says you've gone through the tandem course. Your T2 says you've done enough tandem flights that you show proficiency, and then your tandem 3 allows you to do tandem flights as a commercial business or for pay.
Interesting. See, I didn't know that. I knew
Kevin,
you had to do some kind of classes or whatever.
Kevin, have you taken all those classes?
No, I have not.
Excuse me, I have to let my dog, he said it's 115 out.
No, considering the area that I'm in, and there's already 2 really, really good paragliding instructors, and they both do tandem flights. There's not really a need to have it, and I'm not a paragliding instructor, so there's no real reason for me to go and get certified to do tandem flights in paragliding.
What about paramotoring?
I am working on that right now. So I've been talking with another one of the schools here in Oregon, and I'm in the active pursuit of getting all of the official PPG titles, so that way when someone comes to train with me, there isn't any misconceptions about whether I'm an instructor or not. I'll be on the official website as a USPPA certified instructor.
Nice. So, Brian.
Yes, sir.
What is your goal, your end goal with this sport of paramotoring? Are you wanting to go into tandems? You're just wanting to fly as much as possible for yourself, or do you have a goal?
You know, when I was going through class at Aviator, I set a goal, and I set some pretty high goals sometimes, but I said, I want to do it. I want to be able to do what these guys do. You know, I want to be able to have the skill base that they have to be able to participate in a team like something like Aerodyne and go around and help, you know, just be a cheerleader for the sport and, you know, share my experience and help get other people into it. I wouldn't go as far as saying maybe being an instructor one day. I'm not sure. But I definitely want to advance my skills well beyond where they are now. I want to get into paragliding, not just powered paragliding.
Right.
I know that you're limited where you can do that. I know there's more skills that you need to do. I've never flown at a beach. I would like to, you know, I do some traveling with my camper. I've been all over the country in the lower 48. So I would like to get some experience flying in mountain type terrain. All of these are, in my opinion, require some additional training, or at least flying with some other people that have the knowledge to pass it on to you at a minimum. So my goal is to continue to build my skill set, add wings, and maybe another motor to my quiver in the future, and just to keep advancing my skills until I get so old that I can't foot launch, and then I'll get a trike.
Yeah, right. Well, I tell you this.
I can tell you from my experience, with flying a paraglider, you will learn so much more about the air and about controlling the canopy that when you get done with a P2 course, going back to paramotoring will almost feel mundane in the regard of how the actual paramotor flies. You have so much more weight shift authority in a free flight harness, and you have so much more dexterity in the way that the canopy feels, that you get a lot more precise feeling. And then when you go back to paramotoring, it's almost easier in a way. And the depth of knowledge you get allows you to safely fly into more conditions than you normally would. Because through a paragliding course, you'll get thermal training, you'll get soaring training, you'll get kiting training, and they'll even go, most of the guys will go through a small SIV-ish course with you, where they'll do a set of series of collapses, and you understand what you're going to have as a feeling in flight. And then when you transfer those skills back to paramotoring, it just makes paramotoring so much more enjoyable. Because like I say, when I say mundane, that's probably the wrong word, but it makes it feel like you have more confidence, like you know what's going to happen, and you can be a little more ahead of the flight and not in the moment of the flight, if that makes sense.
All right, so question for the group. Have anybody done the SIV course or have plans to do an SIV course?
I've done 2.
I'm doing one in August. My first one ever.
I plan to do it sometime.
Come on, JP.
I'm not yet.
If you're doing SATs, if you're doing SATs, you really should go do an SIV.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps saying.
I mean, you're at that point where your skills are ready for,
I should have done it before I started trying SATs.
Oh no,
real.
SIV. This is where people have a misconception about SIV. In my opinion, the best time to do an SIV is almost straight away out of training, because it gives you a real healthy respect of what you can expect out of your wing. We always worry about collapses. We're told to worry about collapses. We're told that it's going to happen eventually, blah, blah. When you go do an SIV and you purposefully deflate the wing and you feel it bang open and it does all the things it does, you get reassured, but then at the same time, you understand what it takes to fix it. You get a whole real understanding of the wing, not just somebody told you collapses are scary. Mm-hmm. And You know, then once your skills progress to the point where you start doing larger wing overs, sats, big spirals, things like that, that's when you are at a level where if you do a bad input and you wind up going from sat to coconut spin, you would know how to exit
unload
the
this
coconut spin without collapsing the flying side of your wing. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was absolutely intending on taking one as soon as possible. Talking with some other people, the basic suggestion that they had was, you know, you wanted at least 50 hours before you take SIV, maybe 100 hours before you start learning thermaling with a motor on. I've heard some different feedback on that, but it was definitely in my future taking an SIV. Just knowing how to get out of a situation and know how you're going to react, you know, to it in the future, it gives you a lot of confidence, I think.
And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Like we all learned in training, the key element to this sport is muscle memory. It's not really knowing about things. You know, when you're up there flying, you don't have time to go delve into the depths of your brain and the knowledge of flying. You have to kind of live it in the moment. And the training is there to teach you the muscle memory to do forward launches, reverse launches, kill the wing. And that way, when you're in a situation for high wind, you don't have to think to yourself, well, shit, what was the lines my instructor told me to pull? You know what to do because of the muscle memory that's taught you. The SIV course is the same way. It's just to teach you how to pump out the deflations, how to weight shift the deflations, you know, all the different, what I call different aspects of flight. Because just because we're flying doesn't mean that there isn't 19 different ways that things can happen. You could have a deflation to the left, deflation to the right, a frontal. You know, like I said, you go to do a big wing over or a sat and you pull a little too much brake, stall one side of the wing, and then you wind up going into either a negative spin or a coconut spin. And exiting one of those can be very scary if you aren't prepared to let the wing fly, then check the surge, and then fly out of it. And the SIV is what teaches you those timing to check it, let it fly, then fly out. Like it's like I tell people, it's like a mechanic having a toolbox. You know, a good mechanic has a huge wall of drawers with all kinds of tools. He may not use all of them in one day, but he has all of them there to use. You know what I mean?
And he knows where they're at, how to get to them.
And that's my analogy exactly. Is he knows what drawer to go to when he needs that tool to use. And none of it's buried somewhere. It's not a mess. It's, you know, that professional mind, that professional setting. Everything's laid out in such a way where when I need something, I can grab it, I can do it, I can get it. And
well, how many of you guys fly with reserves? And as you're flying, you just real quick reach down and grab your reserve as a muscle memory thing. I do it 1,700 times every flight just to make sure that I have that muscle memory in case something goes wrong. I can reach down and grab my reserve and get a hold of it before, instead of looking for it.
Do you have a side-mounted reserve or a lap-mounted reserve?
Side. It zips into my, it's for the PAP frame.
Yeah, it zips in.
Right.
Right. See, I like that as a way of having it out of the way, but I prefer a lap-mounted container because there's no confusion as to what hand can get to the handle. So if you're in a left-handed spiral and you're locked in, and the only way for you to get out of that spiral is to throw your reserve, it's going to be hard for you to get your right hand to reach in because of the G-forces. Your left hand is going to come across, which means you can still get to the reserve handle. But if you have it on the right-hand side of your paramotor and you're G'd out and you're having a real hard time pulling your hand in, it's going to be a harder time because you can't get, you know, being in the harness and strapped in, we all know, I mean, you can't even get to a chest pocket barely.
Right.
I mean, it's nice because it's out of the way, but at the same time, for the eye of safety, I like it to be on my lap, and I fly with a lap-mounted reserve.
I got enough stuff I got to check before pre-flight, before I take flight, adding the reserve and making sure I clipped it in for a lap. I mean, you got to do that every time, correct?
Well, every time. Well, see, my reserve is on a Y bridle that comes up to my shoulders.
Right.
And then the container itself straps between the swan arms. Mm-hmm. And so one side is actually tied in. It's arguably immovable. I mean, I can disassemble it, take it off if I want, but the right-hand side is on a non-load bearing carabiner. So it swings like a gate. And the only thing that does is just hold the container in my lap. So
Right.
if I have to throw, the bridle goes under my arm, around my back, and then up behind me. So then I would be hanging from my shoulder straps, not from my carabiners.
Okay.
Because in a PLF situation with a motor on your back, it's better to have it on your back and fall forward, tucking your chin, than it is to have it fall to the back. Because most paramotors don't have a back plate, and having that gap between the motor plates and then the gas tank, that space can create a void for your back to get broken. So it's better to fall leaned forward than it is to fall leaned back.
What about that dude that was, did you see that? He had that couch. And he was
That was awesome.
Did you notice he wasn't strapped in to that or had a parachute of any kind on?
Yeah, I was, how's this all? Yeah. And he lived to tell.
That was debatable.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and my buddy, he travels the world. He goes all over the place. PK Chile, Dunes de Playa, all over Europe. He's a paragliding nutcase. He goes every place he can to fly. And he was saying he's flown that site dozens of times. And basically any time after 2 o'clock, it's all just coastal wind, and it's all just plainly laminar. He's like, you can go up on any wing, throw your hands up, stow the toggles, and spend all day just watching TV or texting. He's like, it's
so he had a paraglider attached to the couch?
Yeah. So he had a tandem wing that was tethered to the couch. He had welded up a little aluminum frame and then had a TV, a battery box, and a DVD player. So he was able to sit there with his backpack, drink a drink, eat snacks, and watch TV while he's paragliding around.
Isn't that the ultimate Netflix and chill?
Yeah, for sure. And when you watch the video, he reaches up and he grabs the weapons, and he only uses weight shift within the couch.
I was watching that video today.
Once he launches, he doesn't even touch the toggles. He just lets them go, and he flies the whole thing with weight shift till he lands.
That'd be you, Kevin.
I mean, can you imagine the amount of work that they put into that thing to get it weight balanced?
You know, the thing that I was going to say, the thing that had me blown away was the fact that they had balanced it out to the fact where when he was flying it, it was, perfect underneath the wing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he did a hang test and he added weights and he had his position perfectly centered in that couch. You didn't see him sitting on the left side or the right side of the couch. I mean, it had to be just right. And so my background is.
You don't want to crash into a hay bale with that.
No.
Unless it was in a recliner mode.
I think so. There you go. Well, there you go, Kevin.
If you did that,
a nice little recliner from the thrift store and just hook it all up and go flying.
Go fly a lazy boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the show. Go fly a lazy boy. Yeah, you can do it.
Hey, some people like to describe this sport as flying a butt fan or a lawn chair under a bed sheet. This guy was literally flying the living room couch. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh.
Have you seen the European Halloween flying?
Have not.
Oh, you gotta check that out. That's something different. So they make all kinds of different costumes, like sailboats. Like they'll make like a full pirate ship out of like cardboard and surround it around the harness. And
is that thing where they jump off a dock and try to fly?
No. That's the Red Bull Flugtag. No.
Okay.
This is a fly-in that they have in Europe, and everybody shows up. Everybody shows up dressed in costume, like a Halloween costume, and then they take off and fly off the paragliding site, all dressed in costume. Some people are dressed as Superman. Some people are Santa Claus.
That's cool.
One guy last year, he had the sleigh with all the reindeer, and had balanced it all out so that way when he was flying, it looked like the sleigh and reindeer was flying through the sky under the paraglider.
I do remember seeing that. I remember that. I think that was on the national news here last year, whenever it happened.
But they do it every year. It's hilarious. They do this Halloween fly-in, and the turnout is amazing. The costumes are amazing. The European flying scene is way more intense than the American flying scene is. That's for sure.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. Well, they're a whole lot more community-based. I mean, as much as I love to say I'm an American, the European culture is just totally different than the American culture is. They're way more community-based. They're way more, I hate to use the term, but socialized based. You know, they worry about each other more. They care for each other more. And it shows, you know, their camaraderie, especially within the paragliding club. When they get on the hill, it's just a whole different feeling.
Yeah, and that may be one thing I really like about the paragliding community here in the United States is, you know, you feel that camaraderie where, you know, people care about each other. But so much other stuff going on in the world, you know, it seems like so many people hate each other in this country that, you know, it's sad. It's good to have, you know, people like y'all out there that, you know, that generally care about other people, you know, even if it's just within the sport. But, you know, it's nice to have that camaraderie for sure.
You guys are all family.
It's people helping people. It's powerful stuff.
Speaking of people helping people, so my channel name is Never Trust a Skinny Chef Shane. I do cooking. I do everything from flying, paramotors to hunting, whatever. So the other day, I ordered some rubs from Uncle Steve's Shakes, and he sent me the first time I got some of this stuff to try. He sent it to me for free. Well, I ordered because he told me once you try it, you'll be back. You'll buy it again, and he was right. I bought it again, and I bought 4 bottles of his rubs. Here are those 4 bottles, and then here are 3 more bottles.
Oh, man.
And then he sent me 2 new sample bottles.
Nice.
And I just want I don't know if this will get out or not, but I want to thank him very much because I'm greatly appreciative. If you haven't tried Uncle Steve's Shake, I make no money off of him or off his rubs, whatever. I actually spend money on him, but it's really good stuff, and I can't thank him enough. That was really nice of him. He didn't have to do that, but I'm greatly appreciative.
That's cool, man.
Because you are the chef.
My channel is about the same way. You know, paramotoring is just something I introduced to my channel starting last November when I got into it. But before that, it's basically just about my life. I'm a hunter, fisherman. I go out to Colorado elk hunting every year, bow hunting. Got some encounters with bears out there that are pretty cool on video and that kind of thing. But so yeah, my channel, some of it's kind of boring. You know, it seems like when I started putting out a bunch of paramotor videos, my subscribers started to go up a lot. And then I would put out something other than paramotor in one video, and then I like drop 5 subscribers or something, you know.
Well, I don't I've always said I don't do YouTube for anything other than a distraction in life, and
yeah.
So whatever I decide to put on there, if you want to watch it, great. If you don't, great.
No sweat off your back, huh?
Yeah, it's there. If you want to see it, great. If not, then okay. So
that's you know, I'm kind of the same way. I just do it for the fun of it. This phone that I'm using right now for the Zoom meeting, when I retired over 3 years ago, one of my best friends, Andy, he bought it for me, and he's been paying the bill on it ever since. He said, Brian, you're going to go to some cool places and do some fun stuff. Just take this phone, take a few videos, put them on YouTube for me so I can keep up with you, and I'll pay the bill. I said, sure, man. Sweet deal. So that's kind of how mine started. And
nice. Your paramotor, you said?
No, his phone.
Oh.
Get your heads out of cloud. Come on.
My phone is a Samsung F7 Galaxy. Was that the question?
No, he wanted to know if your friend bought your paramotor. It was your phone that he's bought and paid for the service.
You're out of your element, Tony.
No, I paid for my paramotor out of my own pocket, man. I didn't.
You said you never flown the beach. Technically, as a Florida boy, since November, this technically is the first weekend, this past weekend, I have flown from the beach and landed at the beach. And I've flown anywhere from 6 a.m. to went back up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to like 3 o'clock, and then landed again, and then flew at 5:45 until almost dark. It was crazy. Seen some of the biggest sharks I've ever seen in the air.
That's another hobby of mine, shark fishing off the beach. Catch 7-foot shark right off the beach.
Yeah. Well, I've seen sharks bigger than that. And then I thought to myself, man, what if my wing collapses right now? Not only do I fall in the water.
I'm have to step out of the video for just a second.
All right. Not only do I land in the water, but I land on a shark. And then that's just my luck because I have horrible luck. But it was awesome seeing sea turtles. Right now in Florida, the sea turtles are coming up at nighttime and laying their eggs up on the beach. So flying, and you can see thousands, and that's no exaggeration. You see thousands of trails where they go up and then they come back down. And it's just turtle track after turtle track up and down the beach. We flew for an hour. Oh, man, what did we do? We did like 50 minutes one way and, I don't know, 55 minutes back the other way or something. And, I mean, it's just turtle tracks after – they're making nests like crazy right now. There's nothing like seeing like a 400-pound sea turtle come out of water, lug itself up on the beach, dig a hole, lay eggs, cover it, and go back down. It's something you wouldn't think would be awesome, but it's totally – to watch Mother Nature like that is crazy.
Back to you, Shane.
Apparently, somebody should tell Brian to shut the bathroom door because his microphone's still on. Linda, how's the fires in there?
Kevin. Oh, Kevin.
Sorry about that.
So did your dog go hide underneath the couch all night, Linda, or was your dog okay?
No, they were fine. I was not. It was like they stayed in the house. I sat outside on the phone with Robert. It was like a war zone in my little community, right? Seriously, it was bad. I've never, as many years as I lived out here, it has never been that loud. And there was like people shooting up stuff like 5 houses down, for me on the main road, whatever. And seriously, we have a lot of vets that live in my neighborhood, and I had to check on a couple of them because, yeah, it's scary. It's scary, but,
Linda, aren't you in a drought or a restricted fire band or something like that? Don't you guys have a bunch of fires out there?
Oh yeah, a lot of brush fires, absolutely. Not so much down here. I'm not like in the outskirts. I'm more down in the valley of Phoenix. So I'm not like right there by the mountains or where people can be.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but it went on like till 3 a.m. Just it was nuts. Oh, we keeping you awake, Kevin?
Oh man, I got.
It's like noon.
By the kids.
It's like noon for Kevin right now.
No, it's not noon. I got woke up early by the kids.
I know your kiddies need you. So next week then the show will be like where people get on chat and all that stuff. What was this? This is just kind of like a hangout show for us.
No, this is. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I was going to say, this was a little bit of a blindsided deal. I didn't realize that Sean was going camping, or otherwise we could have rescheduled this in a way where we could have had it broadcasted. But
yeah, he did not notify me he was going camping.
We'll be back to our normally scheduled programming next week.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah, which is.
We're like, what the heck?
I was wondering when he was at. I didn't even know. I just kind of. It's fine. Crap happens. I mean, really, it is what it is. It's not like a set in stone kind of thing, but we try. I guess we're going to try to keep it as a. Like, I didn't even know I was hosting the show.
I think it'll go good. I think the show will go really good. Like I said, you got Kevin, who, in my opinion. Every time I talk to the guy, he gives me information, and I'm just like,
that makes sense. I can use that. He's an expert in my opinion.
There you go.
You got JP, who's got tremendous amount of knowledge and experiences himself. You got Linda, who will tell you to stop it and act right.
Exactly.
Sean,
I mean, like, whoa, boys, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Calm yourself.
Somebody has to do it.
Linda's over there with her Sharpie in a mayonnaise jar right now. He's like, I'm getting my jar ready. You all.
I'm about to buy me some fire hydrants out here in the valley. Make sure I don't
right.
burn up.
Timeout jar. And then we just like
Linda doesn't need a Patreon. She has a cuss jar. grandma's cuss jar.
So I was curious if this was going to be on a live stream. That I guess there would have been a chat room with people streaming it was able to chat and potentially ask questions. Is that right?
Yeah. So generally, when it's ran on the YouTube, there's a live chat that runs below the show, and then we're able to interact with the actual viewers, answer their questions, address them with what they have going on.
Which I would have loved, absolutely loved for that to happen tonight, because there would have been a gazillion more questions that we could never even have thought of.
Yeah,
well, we can just redo it on Monday if you want. I can act like it never happened.
That's what she said.
But no, I was curious. I was curious about getting the feedback from a lot of people, and y'all have mentioned you've asked some good questions, but you haven't really told me what do you think I did wrong. What would you have done differently in my situation by watching it?
Man,
I'm here to learn.
I have been in your situation. I went to school back in finished school in November. I fly out of the compound in Palm Bay, Florida. There's hay bales out there all the time. I've slalomed them things along with palm trees and everything else. Dude, you taught me not to put my feet out for starters. I mean, it is, I watch that video and I think to myself, I've been there. I have done exactly what you have done, and just not to that extreme. Maybe I'm a little bit more cautious. Maybe I'm scared more than you were. I don't know. Like, me personally, I watch your video and I'm like I've said to you before, I'm very thankful that you posted it, because it teaches us all a little bit of,
humility.
And it's humbling to think that this could happen to you. It can happen to any one of us at any given time.
Well, that's why I asked about, whether the boot got caught or something like that, because, it's one of those, if it's a freak accident, it's literally the definition of, it doesn't matter how many hours you have. You could be a 10,000-hour pilot, and if you flew past a hay bale and your foot hooked the mesh netting, and that's what caused your demise, I mean, that doesn't ever merit an experience. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you've been flying for 1 day or 1,000 days. That's one of those things where you have to just chalk it up to karma. That day decided to rattlesnake bite you, dude. Like, we all kind of have that in life from time to time. On the flip side, when you talk about the skill and what could have been done or what could have been done better, it raises a couple questions that I have that would help to better answer my opinion. And the first one is, when you were you flying with your hands up at trim speed, or were you flying at minimum sync? And then we addressed the second one, which is, what do you think that you did wrong? Which is, we discussed the turning. So, at the speed you were flying low, were you flying at speed with your hands up, or were you flying, with like a bit
trimmers
of
in, trimmer out?
Yeah, I was consciously trying to make sure I was keeping my hands up to retain as much flare and braking possibility as possible, and basically just fly the wing and control the throttle. So I was conscious of my hand positions, keeping them up. And the reason I say that is because going back and watching some of my past videos, I have noticed when I'm just looking around with the GoPro, a lot of times when I look, I'm like, Brian, I'm pulling 6 inches of brake right there. And I wasn't turning. I was just riding with a little bit of brake on.
Right.
So that's something I've been consciously trying to get better at as a pilot. And I was actually thinking about that very actively at that time, because I was low over the field. And whenever I got in that situation, I was like, okay, keep your hands up. Hey, my air conditioner just kicked on. Is the background noise too loud?
No, you're fine, buddy.
Okay. It's getting kind of hot here. So yeah, I was actively thinking of my hand positions at the time.
Okay. Because my takeaway is like I said, speed and power are your friend, especially low to the ground. It's kind of counterproductive for a lot of people to think put your hands up, because you get sink, right? When your hands go up, the glider kind of pitches and you start to descend. You counteract with throttle, exactly. And in that regard, when you use the throttle as your counterpoint instead of your brakes as your counterpoint, that does leave you the ability to have that momentary climb in flare. And so that's where my 2 cents, I would say a little more of the hands up high speed flying when you're down low, because you can always recover with a quick jab of the brake. And then when close to objects like that, if it ever feels like you're getting too close or you're not on trajectory, things are uncomfortable, always climb around, always climb above, and go around for another pass. The glory with GoPros is we can edit the footage, right? We can make it look like we did it the first time. We just, ease into things sometimes. And I like I said, and I know because I've had my accidents before. I've snapped a freaking prop and slammed into the ground, getting the downwind demon myself. That, learning from it in hindsight, you can always tell yourself there's 9 things I would have done. And then you've got 4 or 5 other people that tell you 9 more different things that you should have done. Right. So I don't ever want to get over inundated with what you should have done, because if you should have done it, you would have done it, and say, if I was you, then you'd be me and we wouldn't be here today, kind of thing. But right. It's always power is your savior. Climbing over or around objects is always your savior. At any point in time when you feel like things are not going your way, altitude is always your friend, even if it's just 25 feet. So that's my takeaway, is power and pressure would have saved the day, and you would have avoided it. But like, again, we talked about the danger commitment, and you had committed to the gap. So it's really hard to then abandon the commitment once you've already committed to it. That's why we call it commitment. So hard takeaway, you know what I mean?
I totally respect that, man. I think you're spot on. I mean, absolutely. Everything you said, a little more throttle, climb over around it. I kind of committed to taking a risk, and I didn't quite pull it off. So
yeah. It was that 95% rule. You committed 95% to it, and the 5% of lack of dexterity got you. And honestly, I find it to be amazing. Like, I mean, you gotta start drinking like almond milk or something. I don't know how you just fell apart like
that. He really got bent out of shape. And that's what I'm here for.
But yeah, like I said, that's my takeaway, is when you're down low, it seems odd to fly faster and not slower, but that increase in speed gives you an increase in control, and that increase of control allows you to dodge, dip, dive, duck, all that kind of stuff.
So Kevin, let me ask you real quick, with intermediate wing or a wing, is it better to fly in rougher weather with your trims in or trims out?
Trims in, all the way in, slow.
Right.
So this is where the argument comes in of collapse, right? And so when a wing collapses, the wing collapses for 2 reasons. One is to reset itself. The other is because it got ahead of you. And either way, the way the wings are designed to collapse is they're designed to recover. And so when your trims are all the way in, you may be more likely to take a collapse, but you're also more likely for the collapse to correct itself faster. So when you're trimmed out, you're less likely to have something happen, but when it does, it's going to be a lot more drastic. And with a higher advancement in wings, a higher B wing or a C wing, even into a competition wing, once you start letting the trims out, you can no longer use the brakes. You only have weight shift or tip steer. In the event of a collapse, a tip steer line doesn't do a good job of pumping out a collapse. And if you grab the brake to pump out the collapse, you actually initiate a worse collapse. So the idea of safety, and this is why we tell people don't ever grab the risers, is if you take a collapse, your natural instinct is to pull or is to hang to catch yourself or catch your balance. So if you only have a brake toggle in your hand and you take a collapse and you pull down, you're naturally pumping the collapse out. Does that make sense? If you hold the riser, what we call riser fondling, if you're holding onto the risers and you take a collapse, that natural response is the pull just the same, but you're actually pulling the riser set down, which means that you're initiating an even worse collapse. So that's why we never fondle the risers, and we always want to have our brakes in our hand. So when the air is moderate, and I say moderate because everybody's bump tolerance and comfortability level is different. So when the air is moderate and you can let the trims out and not feel like you're in something that's uncomfortable, then you just add a little more power. You put a little more confidence into the wing and its ability to keep you safe. Right. But if it gets to that point where you're not feeling like life is comfortable, trims all the way in, all the way to full slow, and then you want to bring your hands to what we call minimum sink, which is basically the weight of your arms hanging on the brakes. You don't want to be pulling them down, but you want to just have the brakes loaded with some pressure.
That's exactly
going to be your safest position.
I did exactly that at the poker run when I landed out. I could not keep that wing above me, or I could not stay under the wing. Let's just say it kept surging forward, it kept surging behind me, and I had full trims out at that time. And I was just like, I got to let go of these brakes to pull the trims in. How do I do that when I'm actively flying the wing? And I finally just said, well, if I have a collapse, I climbed up to about another extra 500 feet. I said, if I have the collapse, I have 500 extra feet to recover. And hopefully before then I can get these trims in. And I reached up, pulled the trims in and put my hands back on the brakes. And I was just like, okay, now that my trims are in, I'm at the safest mode that this wing can fly. And I still could not. I've never had even a slightest collapse of any sort on this wing. But that morning, I totally thought for sure that I was going to experience something that I didn't want to. And I ended up landing out along with, I think, about another
handful of other guys. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there was a whole dude. My wife ended up picking up not only me, but 3 other pilots that landed out because of weather.
Yeah, Ripa landed out, Dave landed out, a bunch of guys landed out.
Yeah, so I don't get me wrong. If I was the only one that landed out, I wouldn't feel bad because I get to live to fly another day, in my opinion.
We have that grand old saying, there's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's no old bold pilots. Right. And then there's that other saying where it says, I'd rather be on the ground wishing I was in the air than in the air wishing I was on the ground. So, that's why I tell people, there's never anything wrong with swallowing a little bit of pride and saying today's not my day.
Yeah. Well, I was planning. I had plenty of fuel. I had plenty of time. I just hit that cold, or it wasn't even it was a front of some sort because we all left running from it and then turned around and headed back into it. And it was
that's a weather condition that's really tricky. Do you ever practice your pitch control? When you go fly, do you swing like a child under your wing?
Like wing overs and stuff?
No. Forward and back, pitch control. Swing, like a swing.
Yes. No.
Like a swing set.
You throttle up.
You pull brakes. Well, you don't even have to use any throttle. You can do it only with the brakes, and it's really good practice because it allows you in those rougher conditions to have a better feel of not only where your frontal collapse is going to take place, but also what it feels like when your wing is behind you and you can control the whole thing. So you bring in brakes and you feed in brakes to slow yourself down, and then you basically dump the brakes and the wing will surge forward. It'll pitch forward. And then it just like as you would with a wing over, as you start to swing underneath, you then pump both brakes together evenly, which then pendulums you up. And so you do a porpoising effect up and down and you control the pitch movement by controlling the brake movement. Then as you get through that and you start processing larger and larger into your procession, what you also want to do is then stop the procession. And so by learning how to do that will then allow you to understand much better when you get into those conditions when the wing wants to surge, what it feels like to jam the brakes, to let it fly. And you'll know that your wing can actually go pretty far forward before it takes a collapse. And as long as you're loaded, it can go pretty far back before it'll drop off. Unless you're pulling brakes with it behind you, it's probably not going to stall. It's just going to pitch and then surge. And it's that surge where we just catch the surge and then manage the energy. So then the second half to that is you slow your wing way down, and then you come back to full speed, and you do it without letting the wing fall back or surge forward. So you slow down slowly and then speed back up slowly, and then slow down slowly and speed back up slowly without letting the wing do the pitch movement. So you learn where your pitch movements are on both ends, and then you learn how to hold your speed without letting the glider get out of hand forward or back. It's a great practice maneuver to just practice your pitch control. And doing it in nice smooth air when you have control and not Mother Nature allows you to build that muscle memory as well.
Now, see, I've never done it that way. I've always done it full throttle. So I'll kick my legs up, go up, and then just let off the throttle real quick and let it surge forward and go facing straight down towards, you know, and then once it starts swinging out again, then hit throttle again. And my wing will get really far behind me. It'll get really far in front of me. None of that bothers me. What bothers me is when, let's say, the right wing tip goes in front, but the left wing tip is right above me. So the wing is actually like pivoting sideways. So you're only pulling one, like if it's shooting forward on the right side, you pull right brake.
Right. You're controlling the yaw of the wing.
Correct. That's when I get freaked out, because now I've got one hand that's doing nothing, but the other hand is fighting this wing, and then it switches or it gets worse. And I'm like, okay, dude, now we got problems. And this is where I get uncomfortable. It's not a bump tolerance for me. It's because I've been in some pretty crappy air and I'm fine with it. It's just when that wing starts doing stuff that I don't feel like it should be doing, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I went down.
So the best analogy I can give to most people is when you drive your car down the freeway, you only give the steering wheel as much input as what's required to keep it between the lines. Because if you gave it more than that, you'd be all over the road and potentially spun out and in a crash.
Correct.
If you go down a gravel road, you drive the same way, but you anticipate the vehicle, right? Because it starts to get loose on the gravel.
Right.
It's the same mentality when you're flying in rougher air versus smooth air. So smooth air would be the equivalent of being on the freeway. Rougher air would be the equivalent of being on a gravel road. So as the wing starts, like I tell my students, it's like you want to anticipate and get ahead of things. Because once the wing starts to get so far, you only have one of two options. Option number one is commit to a turn and go with it. Don't fight it, right? Because fighting it's going to make it worse at some point. Or
Correct.
Option number two is if you're ahead of the wing and you can be part of the wing before it gets to that point, you check the surge, check the yaw, check the roll, whichever direction the wing's going to maintain it. And that's that gravel road analogy. It's like when the back starts to step out, you don't let off the gas and you don't hit the brakes. You just give a little counter steer and you keep everything smooth, right? Because as long as your throttle stays smooth and your steering stays smooth, you can kind of fishtail back and forth 2 or 3 times and you're not really out of control. You're just kind of loose. It's not until you go, oh shit, and you let off the gas and then the back end wants to come around on you. That's the mentality that you want to have when you're flying in that feeling of the air, is when the wing starts to get away from you, you just kind of mentally know, hey, man, we're just going to drift a minute. It's all good. We just pull that drift, let it drift. It'll come back. You pull the drift, and you just be patient. Like a lot of people, when they start to get uncomfortable, everything starts speeding up. And the key element is patience. If you just a little bit of patience, kind of let the wing come together. And again, like everyone, I tell my students left and right, you have to trust the equipment. As much as it's uncomfortable, and I understand that it's uncomfortable, if you trust it, it will come through. As long as you don't get behind big buildings or big trees and start getting into big rotor, open air, storms, crappy, bumpy wind, that all sucks, but the wing still flies. The wing doesn't care. Wind speed is wind speed. Rotor is a whole nother animal. So as long as you have open air, it can be ratty, but you can still be fairly safe.
Well, see, I did that this past weekend flying the beach. We ended up getting what is it, offshore or onshore? Wait, when the wind's blowing from mainland out to the ocean.
It's offshore wind, so you're getting mainland thermals blowing over the coast.
Correct. And we were flying, I want to say 10:30 in the morning. It wasn't terrible, but I was getting, anytime I come up to large hotels or whatever, I would make sure that I was climbing 75 feet, 100 feet above them, so I wouldn't hit any kind of rotor. And then sometimes
your bubble is 30% of the object over the top.
Okay. Well, So
if your building is 100 feet tall, you're going to be 135, 140 feet.
Right.
That's where the top of your rotor bubble will be, 30% of the object.
Well, I did pretty good because I didn't hit very many. And then sometimes I would forget as I was looking at sharks and turtles and everything else. And
it'll remind you.
Yeah. And you know what? Because I was over the water and I had my flotation, not that I trust it 100%, but I mean, it's better than not at all. And I'm flying 250 feet up, 150 feet. It just, I was so comfortable, but I hit the same amount of wind in the same kind of rough air that I did for that poker run. The poker run. And honestly, I can't wait to do this SIV course just so I can go, this wing is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's not going to collapse. It's not going to do nothing but keep flying. Because I'm a new pilot. I haven't learned exactly what my wing can and can't do. I don't know how much brake to pull while in the air before I have a collapse, or how far forward this thing's going to go before it does a frontal.
Right.
This is where the SIV course is going to come in. And Sean's supposed to go with, he said he's going to go with me he's going to go back to the SIV course. I'm going to go for the first time. And I did see, and I cannot show the video, but I did have a buddy of mine that I flew with this weekend do a sat, and a low one, and it killed his motor. And he come out of the sat, and let's just say he bounced out of the water. He hit the water, bounced, flared, and landed in about knee-deep water at the beach. And, he learned a very valuable lesson. And
I think I know who that someone was.
No, you don't. No, you don't know him. Honestly, you don't. I did fly with him this weekend, but he's a 3-year-old pilot that self-trained and knew that these particular moves kills his motor and forgot about that, I guess. I can't explain to you why he did it. And literally he skimmed across the water like you threw a stone.
Oh yeah.
And then bounced back up, flared, and he rose up about 10, 12 feet and then landed in knee-deep water in front of his mom, who hates him flying. Oh, it was great. His wife, his daughter was there. My wife, who, she's in the medical field, but she's recovering from one of her surgeries from her burn. She took off running. The woman is now limping for like the last couple of days because she's not used to moving like that.
She didn't stretch. She pulled a hammy.
Yeah, she might. She might as well have. Oh, dude. I'm not kidding you. There's a heating pad, a massager. There's all kind of what is it called? Biofreeze running around.
So what you're saying is, as soon as you're done with the show, you're gonna go give the old wife the tune-up?
No, she won't let me touch it. She's like, it
She won't
hurts
let me
too
touch
bad.
it. She knows better.
Yeah.
I don't blame her.
Golly, dude.
I'd be like, hey guys, I've been watching kind of like the summer's been really weird with all these pop-up storms. So does that kind of concern you? Like, because you don't know sometimes when they're gonna, because they had one guy, I think got killed a couple days over the weekend or whatever, because he got caught up in a storm, a paramotor. I think it was
didn't he drown? Wasn't it a tandem or something?
Something,
I seen something on Facebook. Again, so this is my, I don't know, my way of being naive, if you will. So if I see a news post on Facebook or whatever, somebody drowns, paramotor, I don't read those because I don't want that to be like in my head when I'm flying, if that makes sense. Stick your head in the sand, kind of ostrich kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like if I can't see it, doesn't happen.
No,
so
I get invited like to go horseback riding or whatever at my friend's ranch or whatnot, and then you're thinking back of your head, oh man, I don't want to like get thrown off this horse kind of thing. But
exactly.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't read those stories. I don't watch videos of people crashing.
Right.
I don't want to be part of. I don't want to be part of that in my head when I'm flying.
Well, they didn't have a video of him or anything like that, because respect to the family. But somebody had posted on there that, somebody had they got caught up somehow. The storm kicked in, and lately the storms have been, especially up the ocean and all that stuff. They come in really fast.
Yeah, here in Florida, you can literally look to the south or look to the east, and it'd be sunny as all get out. Turn around to the west, and it is a Category 5 tornado coming at you. And it's usually the same time of day, every day. We are in the afternoon thunderstorms, so between 3:55 and 4:25, you're going to have 4 inches of rain. And then after that, the sun comes out. We steam everybody. It gets really hot, and you feel like a clam, oyster, whatever you want to call, steamed whatever. And by 6 o'clock, there's no wind, and we're ready to fly.
So crazy.
And that's usually a daily event right now. This time of the year.
You feel like a piece of broccoli in a smart pot?
Oh God, yes. It is horrible. I say 3:55 because that's exactly the time I get off of work, and at 3:54 is when it starts pouring. So we all have to run out to our cars and in the rain. And about the time I get home, it stops. It's actually about 2 minutes after I get home, it stops. So
don't they call that a Florida car wash or something like that?
Yep. It does. It gives just enough rain so the mosquitoes get, they get enough.
They get super hyper.
Yeah, and then they come out while so you can fly right up till, it gets dark, and then you land. The problem is, at that point in time, the mosquitoes are starving to death. So as soon as you land and kill that motor, you are done.
I got a silly question for you. How many times when you get home do you have to pull out the Windex or Simple Green and clean the bug carcasses from your propeller?
Oh, so I know you're joking. No, you're not. I know you're kind of joking about that, but so even my cage, the cage from riding in the back of my truck,
it's all splattered.
Yeah, the top of it. I go one day, why is this so dirty? And I'm licking my finger, not dawning on me that it's fucking bug guts. and someone goes,
the dog didn't even like that.
Exactly. The dog's like, I lick my own butt. I wouldn't lick that though. So it dawned on me.
You offended the dog with that statement.
Yeah. So I literally learned that day why one prop was always dirty on one side more than the other. Because I always tied it up.
With it vertical.
Right. So I'm like, I never dawned on me. I'm riding home in the dark. The bugs see the light. They go over the hood of the car or over the truck, over the windshield and down to the bed of the truck, and they hit the cage and the prop. So the whole back of my entire thing is all tore up with bugs. That never dawned on me until someone said, those are all bugs. I was like, what? Oh, I've been over here licking my finger and wiping it out. I was like, never dawned on me.
Protein, man. You're
Oh,
good.
Jesus. It never dawned on me. And I tell that story openly because, well, I never thought about it. But yeah, there are so many bugs here in Florida. It's horrible.
No, so I went flying the other night. I got down really low over this oat field and was flying with my toes dragging the top of the wheatgrass. And I flew through a cloud, and I don't know any other way to put it. It was a cloud of gnats. A cloud. To the point where they're in your nose, in your mouth. Yep. I mean, even though I was wearing glasses, they're like inside my glasses. It was like, good God, man. And when I landed, I got back to the car, I landed. And both sides, the leading edge of my propeller was just a slew of bugs. Was like, to pull out the simple green and clean the prop off. It was like, good God. Actually, I think it may have been subliminal, but in my own mind, I think there was enough bug guts on the prop to actually give it a little bit of a vibration.
Now, when you have the ladybugs, the love bugs, not ladybugs, the love bugs, when we get 2 swarms of love bugs, they are, you've never even heard of them. Come to Florida one time when they're swarming, you'll know all about them.
We've got them in South Alabama.
Yeah, they are horrible. I mean, they'll hit your windshield like rain. You'll literally, it sounds like rain.
Yeah.
But then you make this mistake of hitting your windshield wipers, which literally just blocks your entire view.
I know all about them.
So you're flying your paramotor. Anytime you get 25 feet or lower, all you get is off your forehead and your face, and you're like, I know those are bugs. So keep your mouth shut. You don't want to yawn or nothing.
It always makes me envy that mask that Mitch G flies with, that full face thing.
Yep. And I never fly with glasses. I don't use sunglasses. Very rarely do I ever use sunglasses or any kind of glasses. And then when the love bugs are here, I put on my safety goggles or my safety glasses, dude. They're like, why are you wearing those? Come back and there's like 4 or 5 right at where my eyeballs are. And I would have ended up with love bugs in my eye. And yeah, but that's the only time I fly with them.
I have to wear glasses when I fly because my FAA medical says that I have to wear glasses when I fly.
Well, unfortunately, I'm almost 46 years old. I don't even have no corrective. I have no corrective eyewear at all. No contacts, no glasses.
I didn't think so either until I went in to go take my medical exam to get my pilot's license, and the guy was like, dude, you're blind. I was like, what are you talking about?
You look great.
I was like, I see just fine. I was like, literally went to the optometrist to get the corrections, and the guy like laughed, and he was like, this is maybe perhaps like the softest prescription I've ever had to prescribe.
No, I have actually.
But it's on there. It's literally right on my medical. Here, right here.
So
I had to deal with when I was growing up, when you go to the beach and all that, fish, we call them Michigan fish flies.
What is it?
And those are probably, they found the exact same thing you're talking about, those love bugs. They call them fish flies. And you can Google it, and they like stick to everything.
So see it right there? Corrective lenses required.
Well,
they call them love bugs for a reason, right, Shane? Yeah.
So their butts are together. There's 2 separate bugs. They're backwards. Is it the male or the female that runs or flies in the whatever direction? So No, and I'm not trying to be funny. This is true.
You are funny though. But go ahead.
No, we're not talking about my looks. We're talking about this conversation. So these love bugs, they're attracted to asphalt, carbon monoxide from your vehicle, and I guess headlights or something. But dude, they're so horrible. Look up love bugs in Florida.
Okay,
You will.
I will.
They will change the color of the front of a semi.
Yeah.
There's that many.
Yep.
They're disgusting.
Fish flies.
Well, hey guys, my battery is almost dead. Is there any more questions that you would like to ask about the accident or whatnot?
Oh no, get your battery charged, dude.
Linda's like, I've
had it plugged in for the last 30 minutes. But.
I know. I hear you. I'm going to get going too here pretty quick.
Yeah, I think we're good on everything. I want to thank you, Brian, for sharing your story for real.
Absolutely.
It's been, and we'll talk to Sean and see if we're going to end up doing this live or, on YouTube, if you will, instead of a live stream. I have no idea. Kevin, you got anything?
Just my airman certificate.
Booyah. Heck yeah,
No,
man.
I'm just, like I said, when we were chatting on Messenger earlier, I'm just super, super happy that, it was an injury that, didn't claim you, because this last year we've had so many good people that have had accidents that, we don't get to talk to them anymore and ask them about it. And, it's humbling, and it's, really great experience to be able to talk to you about it, to learn your perspectives and how you felt about it. And I'm really glad you have a positive outlook. I'm super stoked that you're still excited to fly and that you're willing to come back as quickly as possible. I think that speaks a lot for the sport and how much people enjoy it and truly love it. And yeah, I mean, I just truly thank you for this experience and being able to talk to you about it.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all taking the time to have me on the show. And my goal of posting a video, I was on a fence to start with, was to, surely somebody out there is going to see this and maybe they'll learn from it. I knew it kind of made me look like an idiot. Anybody that flies straight into a bale of hay doesn't look too good. But
no, I disagree with you. I don't think you flew directly into it.
One slight miscalculation at just the right time. And, stuff can kind of come together to lead to not such a good outcome in the end. But one thing that they really taught me in training was the sport is as safe as you make it. And I truly believe that. And, I was taking risk that I knew I was taking risk. I had committed to that risk, like you said, flying between those bales, and I made a mistake. And, unfortunately I didn't walk away from it, but, it didn't kill me, and it's going to make me stronger. So.
And we call that PIC, pilot in control. That's what that is.
Yep.
Brian, I love
all me, man.
When you say PIC, I just think of something like that was a painful incident, Charles.
I got to get Brian on Robert's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Robert's PR. So
yes, and his mother, so she can ground him.
Yes, Brian.
Okay. Well, Linda, I've seen you around. I've seen you on some of the other live streams, I think. And,
no.
Oh, was I supposed to keep that a secret?
I've seen you around this town.
Yeah. You're going to have to watch out for your private messages now. You already said you were going to be all over you. She's going to be moving next week.
I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
Robert already knows. He says,
She'll come and she'll make you hot tea. She'll nurse that wounded foot back to health.
I hear you.
Mr.
Y'all are all very nice people, and I appreciate you hosting me on the show, and I look forward to the future friendship and watching your show. And I'll kick in on the chat from time to time, and let's stay in touch. And when my leg gets better, man, I plan on getting back in my camper and travel around the country and going flying with people that I met. And maybe I'll get your way.
Florida's a good place to start.
Anytime you want to make it out to Oregon, buddy, I'll host you any day.
Nobody wants to go to Oregon. I mean, yeah, Kevin, good job.
But the only video that I've got so far that's got more hits than this video, the accident video, is Rogue River jet boating in Oregon, and that was a lot of fun. I did the West Coast, California, from Mojave Desert, Yosemite to Redwoods, and all the way up into Oregon to Portland, Columbia River Gorge, Mount Hood. I mean, everything out there is just beautiful, and I definitely want to come back out there. You know, last time I was out there, I didn't have a good mountain bike and I didn't have a paramotor, so yeah.
I got both of those. I got that covered, man. All you got to do is get here. You don't even have to bring a paramotor. I got one for you. Just show up.
All fun and games until
Kevin, you rock, dude. Yeah.
It's all fun and games until Shane's standing at your doorstep with a 12-pack of freaking Bush Light going, "Where's the paramotors?"
I got a 3-meter wing you can fly right there, Shane. Don't you worry, buddy.
A 3-meter?
Yeah, it's a 3-meter 4-line. You can fly that all day.
You mean 30?
Man.
No, it's just a training traction kite.
Run up and down. If you can get off the ground, good luck.
I've actually done it. I've gone to the coast. There's like a 20-foot dune or whatever, and I was soaring one of my planes back here, and I had my kite with me, and I went, "Hey, I wonder if this would work." And all I did was tie the kite lines, not the kite strings, but just the actual kite lines to the handles, and then ran with it over my head and jumped off, and was able to control the pitch with my wrists and fly it down to the ground. And right when I got there, I was able to pitch back and flare. And I was actually able to fly a 3-meter kite down the beach. It was pretty fun. I wouldn't call it flying. I was more falling with style, but it was
controlled falling.
Yeah, it was still fun.
All right, Brian. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me, and stay in touch for sure.
All right, for the rest of you guys want to stay on,
Yep.
and
I got to get to the family, so we're all here. Anytime, Brian, hit me up if you got questions or need anything, buddy.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. If y'all are ever passed through Southeast Alabama, to stay overnight, man, we got a guest house on the runway, so just let me know.
All righty.
When I make my trip to Florida, I'll probably stop by for a night.
All right. Heck yeah, man. Love to have you. No doubt.
Because eventually, sooner than later, I'm going to have to go fly in Florida. And when I get there, my goal is to go from the Gulf to the Atlantic by paramotor. So
sweet.
Shouldn't be but one day of flying.
It'd be more than that, but okay. But you have a place to stay. Hey, Kevin, you have a place to stay here. I got a camper on the side of the house, full hookups. You're good to go.
Well, you got that new refrigerator, right? The box is still on the side yard. It's all good.
What box?
Just teasing.
All right, guys. Hey, y'all fly safe, man. Look out for those bales of haze, all right?
Yeah, buddy. You guys
all right,
have
man.
a good night. Thank you.
Good night. Yep.
Peace out.
What?
Hang on a second. Linda, what's up? Where'd everybody go?
What I'm doing.
Can you hear me?
On there. I don't know how to get back on here now. Okay. Okay. All right.
What?
All right. I don't know. They said assign a new host, so there you are. Did everybody leave us?
Where'd everybody go?
I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
I hope I didn't do something. All I saw on here, assign and leave. And I'm like, okay.
I think they're mad at you. That's what they told me.
Oh, probably.
They said,
It would be the first time.
let's get out of here. Forget that Linda chick.
They can't do those things to me. Click that on there and say, okay, you're the host. Because I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I just hit that, and then you're the host.
No, you're the host.
No, you're the host.
You're the host. It says it right there on the side.
Who did that?
Not me.
It had to be Shane. It had to have been Shane. No. I don't think, I don't know, how do you get people back on there? You don't?
I mean, they have the code to the room. They must have wanted to leave. I'm surprised they didn't say anything.
Most of them,
they didn't say they were getting off or anything?
Yeah, some of them had to eat dinner and all that, so.
Oh, interesting.
So, well then, I guess we'll just call it a day.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for bed myself, so.
Okay, all right, well, it's nice hanging with you.
I'll see you next, whenever.
Tomorrow. Linda, you're supposed to be the host. What'd you do? No, everybody was just kind of leaving, so.
Okay.
All right. See you tomorrow on Aviator or Wednesday Trikers.
Absolutely.
Okay. Be safe, hon.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.